because it's a last act that you perform in your life and you get to do it only once. You may get married 4 times, but you can only die once. So, you must do it in style, it's very important. Not engage with the body, just like that. It happens as a process. When a woman or a mother conceives, 2 little cells coming together then becomes a meatball, literally. For this meatball to become alive, it is somewhere between 40 to 48 days after conception that the life process enters. Let us understand what is life process. The life process, the life is there in the mother's body also. So where does it have to enter? Those of you who have 2 children, you would have noticed this, otherwise you might have noticed with others. Even on the day the infant is born, even on that day, between one child and other, characteristically, they're very different. The way they move their hands, the way they make noises, the way they pay attention, it's very different. Same parentage, same genetics, same everything, but they're very different. Have you noticed this? Because the information package that is entered, that particular piece of life is always unique, never the same as the other. This may make you write poetry at the age of, what? 17. So, somebody else wouldn't have thought about poetry. Some of these things may happen because of exposure, but nobody can deny that human beings do things out of innate capabilities everywhere across the planet, there's no question about that. Now, this life process is happening and one day death happens. What is this death? Why does it happen? The information package, which in traditional terms we call as karmic body, or it's called a sanchita, a large package of information. Let's not go to where it came from and all that, it'll lead us to a different place, but distinctly you can find out if you observe just born 2 children, obviously the input that has gone into them is different. Every mother would know it, every person who works in a hospital or a maternity home would definitely know it because every day observing children born, distinctly different, always, even if they come of the same parents. This package has 2 different dimensions. One is called a sanchita, which is a warehouse of karma, huge information. Where does this information come right now? How do we generate this information? There are 5 senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. Every moment of our life, this is gathering input. For example, if you walk from here to here, I'm saying if you walk 10 meters, there will be 25 different kind of smells. Most of them you will not notice in normal course of observation. Only if it's acute, either it's too pleasant or too unpleasant, you will notice it. All the mild things you will not notice, but all this is recorded. Every sight, every small inflection, every sound, everything is recorded. Suppose you're sleeping, fast asleep, I will come and speak in a language that you will not understand. Above all, you're sleeping, you're completely unconscious of this. 25 years later, we can hypnotize you and make you speak all the sentences that I spoke without knowing the language, just repeating those sounds. This memory is deeply entrenched in the system. These experiments have been done and we have always known this. So, this volume of information that you're gathering in wakefulness and sleep is phenomenal. It's because of such a volume of information, so many aspects of our life happen automatically. If that information is not there, you wouldn't know how to walk, you wouldn't know how to stand, you wouldn't know how to sit. This will happen. Because of such a volume of information, it is assimilated in a certain way, it's not a conscious process, unconsciously it's happening. So this information will allot itself, which is known as prarabdha. I'm sure in the previous generation, your mothers and grandmothers, when they see you doing something unreasonable, they said, it's your prarabdha. That means it's your allotted karma, it's playing out. Because it's allotted, that part of your memory and your information is just… that part of your software is just playing out. It's not in your hands to control it, it's simply playing out. That's what they mean when they say, it's your prarabdha that you're behaving like this. Now this prarabdha runs out at a certain time depending upon how you live. There are different dimensions to this, but let's say it starts running down. When it starts running down, the software that you have for this life is slowly wearing out. Your body may be still strong and good, but software is running out. Now it becomes feeble. Once the information is become less, the life energies will become feeble. Once life energy becomes feeble, below a certain point, it will exit the body. This is considered a normal death. This is a good death. It's a good way to die, that you ran out of the software and you exited. Most people choose to die in a way that they break the body in some way and they make the body inhospitable for life, either with a car crash or a heart attack or a lung cancer or whatever. In some way, we made the body inhospitable for life, so life exits. If the life exited because it has run out of software, then this life is very feeble, there's nothing much to be done about this.
Guru, where do you think or where do you suggest where life begins? Is it in the womb? Is it when you are delivered? Is it… when does the soul enter the body?
Now you're assuming things.
Well, I've heard from whatever my learning and conditioning, as you can call.
Now I'm talking about you and me and people here. Now you're bringing an other person called soul.
Yes.
Let us use the word life because the word soul is heavily contaminated. People are finding soulmates. It's very clear it's very, very clear. Your body needs a mate, your mind may need a mate. But the soul, if it is absolute, it definitely will not need a mate, isn't it? But so many things have… let's call it life.
Okay.
It's less corrupted word. So the life that you are, the person that you are is different. The person that you are is the making and molding of many things that have happened around you, the impacts that life has had on you, external life has had on you. But the life that you are, which keeps all this going, this has come with a certain information. If it runs out of the information or the software is gone, then this life exits the body because its term is over. But if its term is still on, but you break the body for some reason, now it exits. When it exits like this, now the reverberance of life is at a higher pitch. It should not have left, but it has left. Now for this life, a lot of things have to be done, otherwise you will leave it in the wild and it will go on. What would have been… let's say, if it lived in this body, maybe in another 3 years or 5 years it would complete its term. But without a physical frame, this 5 years may become 500 years. Why I'm saying this is, time matters to you only because you're physical. Right now if you sit here, now this session is for 2 hours only because you have a body. Because in 2 hours, it wants to go to the toilet, it wants to drink, it wants to eat, it wants to do so many things. Suppose you had no body, we could make this 2 centuries session, 2 millennia, what's the problem? Time is a consequence for you only because you're physical, because you gathered your physicality. If you did not gather physicality, time would mean nothing, space would mean nothing. So, when you leave the physical frame, now time and space does not mean anything. But because of this, because the reverberance is still there, it can go endlessly.
No, when you say you leave, you almost assume, and that's where probably ordinary person cannot relate with. When you say you leave, as if you have the choice to leave. You said that this guy, this life decided because of accident or whatever to leave. This life did not decide. At least the way we see our loved ones around us, we see somebody else decided. Some happening decided. And well, there are other kind of deaths one hears about, the samadhi and conscious dying. Probably that's not the kind of dying this is. This is an accident. Also, I would like you to explain what is a stillborn baby? What is the lifespan of that which is stillborn? Now, where that manifestation gone? Where is that prarabdha gone?
Now, let us look at the varieties of death. The menu, death menu. Because just today morning somebody sent me a mail saying that someone has opened a death cafe in UK. So let me give you the death menu. The different ways a human being can die is, before you're out of your mother's womb, you could be aborted. Abortion is one form of death. The next is, you can call it stillbirth. It could have happened beyond a certain time. This, after conception has happened and life has entered this, somewhere between 40 to 48 days, that is when it becomes alive. I don't know what the medical opinion is. Are there any doctors here? Huh? 35 days. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm saying this from my personal experience. It's 40 to 48 days, that's a space where you enter. There are some lives which enter later. Suppose, see, this is something a woman or a mother could feel if we train her a little bit. If she sees that a life entered beyond 48 days, then you're delivering somebody truly special, because this life will take time to settle in. Some phenomenal life is on the way. You have heard somebody sees, Gautama's mother, and this man says, "You are going to deliver a phenomenal being." Somebody looks at Yashoda and says to the mother, "You are delivering a phenomenal being." This is simply because when you notice, after 48 days of conception, still life has not entered, but enters a little later than that, this means you are expecting a phenomenal being to arrive. Why it is so? If I go into the intricacies, it'll take you somewhere. But normal life enters somewhere between 40 to 48 days. Now, after this, for some reason, after all, womb is a manufacturing unit of this body. For some reason, if the body did not form itself appropriately for that life or for any life, then the life chooses to exist before it's delivered. So this is a stillborn baby. Or sometimes, because of whatever compulsions, a mother may choose to abort the child. That is another form of thing. But in these things, the engagement with the body for this life truly begins somewhere approximately between 84 to 90 days is where really life gets engaged. Till then, it's foraging. It is looking if this is suitable, if this womb is the right place. This is not a conscious thing. This is an unconscious, tendency-wise, it is seeing if it matches by tendencies. The appropriate word for this is, traditionally, we call this vasanas. Depending upon your vasana, you're looking for an appropriate body. So, though it is partially engaged, it can exit before 90 days, between 84 to 90 days, the life gets properly engaged. From then on, it's a proper baby. From then on, it's a proper life. After that, you should not disturb that, you must nourish it, it doesn't matter in what context it has happened. So, this life process, this is abortion, stillbirth. Next thing is, an accident can happen, it can be of any kind. That means body broke. Because the body broke, life cannot sustain itself in that body, so it exits. The next thing is suicide. because of some extraneous situation, somebody decides to end it. The next possibility is death by occult processes. This is one of the worst ways that things can happen because it destabilizes the information match which has entrenched you in a particular system. When I say the information match, the tendencies of that particular life is seeking a match with the genetic material the parents are providing. When that match is disturbed, people will die a terrible death. Terrible for various reasons, because not only for what they may go through at that time, terrible because of the long duration that it takes to solve this issue that's happened within itself. So, death by occult processes. And the next thing is, as you already mentioned, a samadhi or a conscious way of exiting. This is the whole menu.